O.P. Rawat, politicians don't see eye to eye when it comes to elections or issues, but do you think this may just be the last elections being held amid the peak of heat waves, or do you see this as a very far-fetched thought at this point? All right, I believe Mr. O.P. Rawat is not with us. Mr. Vimlendu, you were talking about how politicians have not really made any of these things an issue, and I want to spend a little time on it, maybe a minute or two if you could. It's the mother of all elections underway right now, but you do not hear this even in states where there is a crisis. When the crisis peaks, you have politics over it, like you have right now water politics playing out between Delhi and Punjab, Haryana, like you have what's unfolding in Bangalore. But beyond that, there seems to be no poll campaigns, no citizen movements that really can demand from the politicians what citizens deserve.
Absolutely, Sneha. So, when you look at all the manifestos to begin with, let's forget the result and everything else. All the manifestos, none of the manifestos actually talk about the causes that actually cause these extreme weather events. Because, scientifically speaking, weather events are not just happening on its own. The weather events have a cause, and there are a lot of local causes as well, because we can't just hide behind the global causes of the polluting countries and the carbon footprint of the rich nations. We have our own carbon footprint. But our political class, our politicians, and our political parties haven't really talked about the causes and the measures perhaps that they need to take if they actually come to power. That's point number one. Point number two is that we need to understand that who gets affected the most by these weather events, or these phenomena like heat wave or a drought or a flood-like situation that we're talking about. And in the last couple of years, we've actually seen many of them. So, there's sometimes we actually discuss this in TV studios. People are actually facing it more often than we discuss this in television studios, because it's actually become a reality. So what I was telling you, that when I'm in Mukteshwar, there's almost a drought. Can you imagine Himalayas where there's a drought situation and water crisis? Similarly, in many other parts of the country. I think it's very important that there needs to be a better tweaking of understanding of what do people want and what affects the people the most. If the poor and the poorest of the poor actually are the people who vote the most, and they are the ones who are getting most affected, they are the ones who actually are losing their livelihood, their crops, their agricultural produce, their industrial or their personal production versus everything else. I think the government should be able to really think about it, and that should be number one agenda on the manifesto of our political parties. So going forward, when we know that this has already arrived,
Vimlendu,
when we
totally
already
out
have
of
that
time.
crisis. Yes.
We're totally out of time. You're making a point. And I think amid the elections...
water crisis, climate crisis, heat crisis as not tomorrow's agenda, but today's agenda.
We're totally out of time. I'm being told to wrap at this point. We're totally out of time. O.P. Rawat, who joined us a while ago, Anand Sharma, as well as Vimlendu Jha and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Cannot thank you all three enough for staying on with us, for giving us important perspective. You must go out and vote if you are going to be voting in the sixth phase. There are efforts which are made to ensure that you can be safe. But learn from Shah Rukh Khan's episode, because not everybody can win against a heat stroke unless you take the precautions that are required. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Good